Anyone who is interested in the topic of tithing from a Seventh-day Adventist perspective will definitely want to learn more about Ellen White and the 1907 Tithe Conference. The reason this conference is important for us today is because there are people who argue that Adventists can do whatever they want with the tithe. They argue that members do not have to return tithe to the church. I have already made several videos refuting those arguments, so see those to learn more, but just recently I came across a very interesting find. In January of 1907, a conference was held in San Jose, California, where several papers on the specific topic of tithe were read and approved by the delegates. Walter Knox, then president of the California Conference, stated that Satan's studied effort will always be to lead to unfaithfulness in tithe paying. And while many people might agree with this, notice that he gives the example that people were sending their tithe out of the conference or using it for other purposes than that to which it has been dedicated by God. While this condition has been approved, it is still a fact that there are those who are yet following this course, notwithstanding that in so doing, entire disregard is shown to principles involved in the tithing system and to the plain instruction of God as to the use, the handling, and the distribution of the tithe. Milton Charles Wilcox was an Adventist missionary to England, where he started the journal Present Truth and who later became the editor of Signs of the Times. He also spoke at this conference, a summary of Bible evidence on tithing, and he wrote, "We shall not then be questioning whether that tithe is used just exactly as it ought to be. It may be the case that sometimes it is not. There may be false ministers among God's people, as there have what? As there have always been. But we will have confidence enough in God to bring the whole tithe into the storehouse." Well-known missionary to Australia, John Corliss, also spoke on the origin and system of tithe paying, and he specifically argued from the Bible that the tithes were distributed by people whose specific office it was to distribute them, and to the Levites alone was assigned the duty of distributing the means of the treasury. The Hebrew tithing system was thoroughly organized, not only in each one paying his tithe, but also in their disbursement. From a purely Bible standpoint, all that the Lord requires of the rank and file of his people in regard to their first tithe is to bring it into the storehouse, and then trust that the Lord will direct his servants to distribute it properly. Many people today who are upset with the church and who argue to tamper with tithe, this right here goes against all of their claims. As I have documented repeatedly in my other videos, those people who argue to tamper with or withhold the tithe constantly try to distort or abuse church history as much as possible, because they know that evidence like this only exposes their claims as false. What is even more interesting is that when you search the topic of tithe in the Ellen White database, one of the longest sections on tithe, if not the longest section, was published in Testimonies, Volume 9, Chapter 30, Faithful Stewardship. And this came from a manuscript that was read, guess where? Just go ahead and take a guess where this was read. It was read before the delegates at the San Jose, California State Conference, January 1907, and it included her statements, "Let the work no longer be hedged up, because the tithe has been diverted into various channels other than the one to which the Lord has said it should go. Let no one feel at liberty to retain their tithe, to use according to their own judgment, to apply it as they see fit, even in what they may regard as the Lord's work." Corliss, Knox, and Ellen White, at the same time, at the same conference, all affirmed the non-discretionary nature of tithe. They affirmed the authority of the church to collect and distribute the tithe, and they affirmed it should not be sent to independent workers. All of these sermons were published in a booklet titled "The Support of God's Kingdom in the Earth," which is very important because, as I document in my other videos, many people today who argue to tamper with tithe try to claim that her son Willie White approved of tampering with tithe. But this booklet here, just guess what? Somebody thought this booklet was so important that they ordered copies of this book to share with others. And again, go ahead and just guess Who ordered the copies of the books? Willie White, who ordered copies to share with others because I think we could use 50 copies to excellent advantage. So take a moment and just stop and think that through. Of all the people in Adventist history that could be misrepresented to present the false idea that it's okay to divert or withhold tithe, Willie White is the worst possible example because he wrote so much against it and he wanted books published that condemned this. So that's a summary of the 1907 conference in California where the topic of tithe received much attention and was later published in a booklet. Praise the Lord, I was able to obtain a scanned copy. The copyright is expired, so I was given and we have permission to share it. You can find the link down below.